Hey, and welcome to The Explainer. We all get caught up in the courtroom drama, right? The objections, the surprise evidence, the big final moment when the judge bangs the gavel. But what happens after that? What happens when you actually win your case? Today, we're diving into that next step, the part of the journey you almost never see on TV.
Okay, so picture this. You've done it, you've been through the whole legal maze, and you have that piece of paper in your hand, that judgment that says you were right. So, now what? You might think that's it, case closed. But nope, that judgment doesn't just magically transfer money into your account. It's actually the starting gun for a whole other process. Welcome to the world of enforcement.
Right, so how do you make that legal win, well, real? How do you actually get what you're owed? The system has a very specific and very powerful tool for this. It's known as compulsory enforcement, and it's basically the law's way of saying, okay, we're not asking nicely anymore. The formal legal term for it is compulsory enforcement, or in Arabic, al-tanfivi al-jabri. And let's be super clear, this isn't a suggestion. This is the court itself stepping in to compel or force the losing party, the debtor, to do what that legal document says. It's the muscle behind the court's command. But the system doesn't just go from 0 to 60. It's not going to break down the door on day one. The first step is actually pretty reasonable. They have to officially announce the judgment to the debtor. Then the law gives them a grace period, a little bit of time to do the right thing on their own. It's one final chance to comply before things escalate. So to get this whole process started, you can't just show up and wave your judgment around. You need something very specific. You need the key. The one and only key that unlocks this entire enforcement machine. Think of it as the legal world's golden ticket. And that key has a name, a Sened Tenfidi, which basically means an enforcement instrument. And I can't stress this enough. Without this document, nothing happens. The court's hands are tied. All of its enforcement powers are essentially locked in a box. And the Sened Tenfidi is the only thing that can open it. And of course, not just any piece of paper gets to be this all-powerful key. It has to pass a strict 3-point test. First, the right must be confirmed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Second, the amount has to be specific, down to the penny, not just some money. And third, the obligation has to be due right now, not next month, not next year, today. What's interesting is that this key isn't always a final judgment from a long trial. Other official documents have the exact same power. Things like official payment orders, decisions from an arbitrator, or even a settlement agreement that's been officially stamped and approved by a court can also serve as that Sened Tenfidi. And if you really want to grasp the power we're talking about, you just have to hear the official wording on one of these instruments. It says, and I'm quoting, "The public authority must assist, even by using armed force when requested." Wow, let that sink in for a second. That's the state declaring its full power is behind this document. It is not a request, it is a command. Okay, so the process has some serious teeth, but it's not the Wild West. There are rules, very important rules. You can think of them as the official rules of engagement to make sure that all this power is used fairly and in an orderly way, not just chaotically. So here's how it usually plays out. On day one, the debtor gets that formal notice. Then a clock starts ticking. 7 days. That's the mandatory waiting period we talked about. It's only after that full week has passed that the court can start the compulsory stuff, like actually seizing assets. The law also has some basic human decency baked into it. For instance, agents can't just show up and start seizing things in the middle of the night. Enforcement actions are generally forbidden between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. and on official holidays. It's a critical rule that keeps the process from turning into sheer harassment. And here's a smart solution to a common problem. What if the debtor's property is in a completely different city from where the case was won? Well, the system's got that covered. The main court can delegate its authority to the court in that other area. That delegated court then takes over, making sure that geography can't be used to escape a judgment. But sometimes, waiting that standard 7 days could be a total disaster. For those kinds of urgent situations where any delay could cause serious, irreversible harm, the law has an express lane. It's called expedited enforcement. So, what kind of stuff gets to jump the line? We're talking about things that just can't wait: urgent commercial matters, alimony or child support payments, a child custody handover, or somebody's unpaid wages that they need to, live. Now, because this is such a powerful shortcut, the person asking for it often has to put down a security deposit. It's a safeguard to make sure the fast track isn't being abused. Okay, now let's flip the coin and look at this from the other side. Because the law isn't just about empowering the winner, it's also deeply concerned with protecting the person who lost. It builds in a pretty significant safety net to make sure that enforcement doesn't leave a person totally destitute. And this is no small safety net either. The law spells out at least 12, yes, 12 major categories of property that are completely off limits to seizure. That number alone is a powerful statement about the system's commitment to protecting a person's basic ability to survive. When you look at what's protected, you can really see the law's priorities. It protects the essentials for survival, like 3 months of food for the family and their main home. It protects their ability to make a living by shielding their work tools and most of their salary. It even protects things you might not expect, like an author's unpublished work and property that belongs to the public. The whole idea is clear: protect a person's right to live and right to work. So what this all shows us is that the entire enforcement system is a really delicate balancing act. On one side of the scale, you have the creditor's undeniable right to get what they're owed, their right to justice. On the other side, you have the debtor's fundamental right to survival and dignity. The law of enforcement is built right on that fault line, constantly trying to balance these two critical needs. And that leaves us with a fundamental and pretty tough question. The system tries to serve both, but in any given case, these two principles can be in direct conflict. Justice for one person might mean real hardship for another. So I'll leave you with this to think about. In that quest for justice, where would you draw the line?